Well, Bulawanaka, welcome to Clarkie's Corner weekly podcast. We're going to chat about the Swire Shipping Fijian Drua, the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific Tournament. And what a day was in Lautoka last Saturday. An historic first ever win on home soil for the Drua, and historic first ever win over a New Zealand opponent. And the first time the Mick Byrne coach team knocked over a defending champ. So plenty of firsts. And to discuss all that and more, would you please welcome my fellow commentators, Kara Karoy and Sam Wykes. Now, Sam, that was a special day in Lautoka. Drua 25, Crusaders 24. Don't forget it.
Beautiful scenes out there in Lautoka. It was a privilege to call it alongside you and Kara. I guess most people's eyes was an upset, but, you know, talking to some of the players after the game, they had full belief that they were going to get the job done.
Now, Kara, it was a first for you as well, and at times we really felt for you because the noise was deafening. At times you couldn't hear us, but you enjoyed the atmosphere and the result. You certainly enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Every minute of it. First sideline commentary experience, and it just had to be one for the history books. And I'm really grateful, privileged to be part of the commentary team as well. Fiji celebrated the win all throughout the weekend. You would have seen the hype on social platforms, and you still can. Churchill Park atmosphere was definitely electrifying. The game was pumped. It was really intense. I don't think people had the chance to even breathe or sit down during the game because there was just consistent loud cheering and, you know, people jumping up and down. So much so that I wasn't able to hear you in my little corner, but I was glad that we had that sorted out. But one thing's for sure, that win was definitely a boost for the Drua, and it's a match that we'll never, ever forget. Arguably the biggest upset in Super Rugby history. Kemu Walitini's kick in the dying minutes was all that the Drua needed to seal that win, and that just got everyone crazy. The roar from the crowd and that full-time whistle blew, still fresh on my mind.
I don't know if it was the biggest upset in history, but certainly in recent times anyway. And guys, I put the commentary curse on Teddy Teller earlier on, gave him a big rap, and he missed that kick from almost in front. And Sam, you gave me a bit of a nudge there saying, say nothing in future.
Or say nothing, especially that last kick there with Valentini. We just wanted to make sure you give him every chance to get it over from in front. But look, it could have been pivotal, that kick from Teti. I know that he would have been working hard this week to make sure that when those gift 3 points or 2 points are on offer, that he capitalises on them. But thankfully, it wasn't the be on end all from that kick, and they still got the chocolates.
Crusaders led 12-5 at halftime, 2 tries to the hooker Quentin McDonald. The Drua responded, a very special effort from Yosefo Marcy, wasn't it?
It was, but that pick up on the fly like that, we said it in commentary, to be able to do it like that, because there's a tall man to bend over, full flight, pick it up one-handed and just go like 45 metres to score that. It was a real turning point for the Drua. I think they had plenty of momentum in the game to probably go in at halftime being up. The only thing that was really keeping the Crusaders in that fight or in that game was their more tries, really. But that's Drua footy at its best. You know, the bounce of the ball and the luck goes their way.
And Cara, what's pleasing for me about players like Marcy is that these Fiji 7 stars, you know, many of them are Olympic gold medalists now, they're coming through in the 15s, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and they bring a lot of talent with them. I mean, sevens players are always expected to be very quick on the field, and that's exactly what we saw over the weekend. With the 7 players jumping over to 15s, you can expect a lot of action from them.
Sessi scored in the second half. Tamani scored a good try. Another 7-star, Oroni Sau, on debut, got across the line. So the Drua got out to 22-12. But then the Crusaders hit back, tries to Sevu Reese, looked like a Fijian was going to spoil the party in Lautoka for all the fans in the Drua. Replacement hooker, Ioane Moanano, got across as well. Then that was that great conversion from the sideline, Fergus Burke. I mean, that was nerves of steel for him. And they looked like the Crusaders had dodged a bullet leading 24-22, but there was time left for the Drua. Take us through what you were thinking over that last minute or two, Kara.
Oh man, the position I was at that particular point in time, everyone jumping up and down. I could even feel things being thrown onto the field. I really didn't know what I was thinking. The only thing in my mind was that if the Drua wasn't going to be able to make that point, everyone's going to go home disappointed.
Indeed, yeah. And Sam, everyone in the stadium, me included, the Drua players, everyone except the Crusaders and the referee thought that the drop goal went over. Wasn't to be, but he came back to the spot and up steps a young man on debut. And wasn't it nerves of steel? Okay, it might have been a pretty easy kick for a kicker, but Kemu Velatini, famous name in Australian rugby nowadays, he got the job done for the Drua.
Yeah, well, I saw Rob's Instagram post. He said, "Oh, the new favourite son has come to fruition here," which it was. As you said, it's in front. It's probably expected to get that goal, but for a man on debut who's come straight out of the Manly Marlins system, over there in front of that crowd at that point in time, the pressure was all on him, and he stepped up and took his opportunity, and it's gone over. And obviously, that will go down in history as a famous victory for the Drua, and he's going to be a big part of that to thank.
Sam, it was a great team effort. Joe Tamani given the Hoover Player of the Match award, but gee, once again, it could have been toss of the coin. Aroni Sau on debut, Tavita Canaveri led from the front again, the captain, Frank Lamardi. He was everywhere right throughout the match. So it was just good to see not just one or two players putting their hand up, but quite a few.
Absolutely, it was. Like they're really starting to find their cohesion as a team, and those moments that are popping up for those individual players where they're showing their individual brilliance. It's coming to fruition when the timing's right. Like Smoking Joe, he's outstanding on the edge. The way he gets his arms free to get that offload away, and he, as I said, he roams from left to the right edge. He pops up, gets those long levers around the corner and flicks those passes off. Oh, he's running over the player to score the try. And as you said, the sledgehammer, hadn't played in a long time. He's come back from Scotland. He's just fit right in and put a couple of good defensive shots on. We saw one on Severis on that corner, but he also scores a try himself. It's impressive to see where the depth is coming from such a tiny island.
Okay, Cara, what does that win mean for the Fijian Drua and rugby in the islands in particular?
Well, apart from just a celebration in the country, the game has also brought about some other things. You may have come across a picture that's viral, a brother and sister watching from the side of the ground with a younger brother getting a glimpse of the game while standing on his sister's shoulders. Just a little background story on that. The kids and their mom are crazy Drua fans. They attended every Drua game and they were happy to be there at Churchill Park as well last Saturday. The family's from Pilanandroga, that's along the Coral Coast. A story on that viral picture was also published in the newspaper earlier this week, and in a way it reflects the passion that Fijians have for rugby. No matter where you are, who you're with, what you're up to, you'll want to watch the game if Fiji is playing, in this case the Fijian Drua. You'll definitely do anything to watch the game, even if it means crashing your neighbor's sitting room or stopping by a place that has a TV, which usually happens. We've heard incredible stories of how Fijians in the interior parts of the country walk up the mountain with their CRT TV, a generator and an aerial or an antenna, just trying to get a signal. The country comes to a standstill when Fiji is on the field. So you can just imagine what that means for Fijians, for the Fijian Drua to win over a reigning Super Rugby champions. And I believe some good Samaritans have come forward with some great offers for the siblings.
Indeed. Now, let's look at the bigger picture going ahead, or looking ahead. It's Rugby World Cup year, and Simon Rawalui, newly appointed head coach of the Fijian team. And Sam, you and I had a good chat to Simon after the match. You couldn't wipe the smile off his face, could you?
Oh, he's pretty excited about the talent that he's got to pick from, and he's pretty excited about the coaching staff that he's going to be able to put around him leading into the World Cup. We saw how the entry of the Sunwolves benefited the Japanese side. The Cherry Blossoms going into their World Cup campaign in 2019. They wanted to play consistent footy together. This is a great opportunity now for the Fijian Drua. A lot of those players will come from that side, and then the inclusion of some of the overseas players will come into it. They're going to be a very strong team heading into this World Cup. And as you said, the big man had a big smile, and he just loved what he was seeing out there at that game.
Suva next up, as far as home games go, Cara. So we saw what happened last year when the Drua played the Highlanders. The Highlanders got there in the end, but again, the atmosphere was electric. And I'm suggesting the house full sign is going to be up in Suva. It's a double header as well because Fijiana are playing the Rebels women in Super W earlier on. So it's a blockbuster day. And mark the date, it's April 1. Don't worry about April Fools. It's actually happening.
Yeah, well, we're expecting the HFC Stadium to be filled up as usual. And judging from last week's match at Churchill Park, those who may have not attended the game but are looking forward to the one in Suva on the 1st of April will probably have to step up their game. I mean, just looking at the spectators, how they were all dressed up and all that, the noise that they were making, Suva will definitely need to step up from that. So, yeah, looking forward.
Okay, running through some of the other results before we get on to week 4. And it's a big week for the Drua because they're away from home. And now we have to see them tick the box of winning successive games. But the Chiefs 28-7 over the Highlanders, Sam. No surprise there.
No, the Chiefs are on a roll at the moment. They're 3 from 3. That match winning against the Crusaders in Christchurch. And they've followed it up every week so far. They're playing that Chiefs style of footy that's we probably saw back in 2012 and 2013 when it was, Sonny Bill and that were coming through that, where it is that Chiefs style of footy. It is hard, it is brutal, especially around the contact areas, and they've got a lot of fishers that can, score some tries. So, yeah, they're on fire at the moment.
One of your old clubs, the Waratahs, off the back of some pretty good performances last year, everyone was rating them very highly this year. I think they were rating themselves very highly, and I noticed the coach, Darren Coleman, is now saying, well, we're back into underdog status, and he likes that because I think he might have been hinting that maybe the players got a little bit ahead of themselves. But the Rebels 34, Waratahs 27. I didn't see that coming.
No, you're probably not wrong there. I think the way the Rebels finished that game against the Hurricanes, especially after there was that little bit of a scuffle there with Sarver, with Artie, that actually sparked the Rebels to have a really good performance. I know they didn't get the win, but they had a really good performance. And I think they would have taken a lot of confidence out of that game because the physicality that they brought to that Waratahs game, I think the Waratahs are probably, as you said, like known for, taking it to the Rebels in the forwards and coming off, confident sort of wins against them before. But it was a great win for the Rebels. And I really like Carter Gordon there at 10. I think he's doing an outstanding job.
Okay, and the Canes are losing to the Blues. The Blues getting up away from home 25-19. That was the big Kiwi derby. And, the Blues are really putting a line in the sand, and they've got the Crusaders this week. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the Brumbies 23 over the Reds 17 in Canberra. So the Brumbies, the early favourites, I guess we can say now for as far as Aussie teams go.
I think, what I love about the Brumbies? Every year, they're probably one of the best Australian teams, but they keep, putting themselves as the underdogs. So it's funny. Like I think they're the best prepared Australian team as well. Their coaching staff, Stephen Larkham, Laurie Fisher, Dan Palmer. I think they understand the fabric and what it's like to be a Brumby, and it just oozes through all their playing group, and they just know how to grind out a game of footy. When you talk about the Brumbies, you know exactly the style of footy they play, and they stick to it, and it keeps them in the fight. And they're going to go deep into this competition.
Bryce Hegarty, who's I think had more clubs than Sam Wykes, he was able to kick the winning penalty for the Force 21-18. And Cara, could I get a comment from you about Moana Pacifica? They lost again narrowly to the Force, but I guess there's a bit of love for Moana around the Fijian Islands as well, being fellow Pacifica.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the Drua, Fijians, they consider Moana Pacifica, the team, the squad, everybody behind it as the Pacific Brothers, or they're part of the Pacific family. So, yeah, whenever they take on the field, you'll expect Fijians and every other Pacific Island country to be supporting them. And great to see how they're performing so far. Probably not what they're expecting this season, but we do hope to see them go up the ladder just a little bit more.
Okay, well, this weekend in the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific Tournament, Friday night, it's the Hurricanes taking on the Waratahs. And Sam, this is a big test for the Tars, away from home, and yet another tough one for them. And they've got a few on the trot now.
Absolutely. When you're playing away from home, I feel like the art of touring has changed a little bit. I think I mentioned it before to some other people that, back in the day where you'd always tour to South Africa, New Zealand, you understood it wasn't a holiday when you go over there. And some of these young players haven't experienced touring at the moment. So how do you get your preparation right? How do you bunker down in a hotel when you don't have any other distractions around you and not let your mind wander? So their preparation is going to be key for getting this right against the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes will be also desperate for a win as well. And I think it's at a pivotal moment, a month into the competition for both teams to see where this sets them up for the rest of the year.
That's the Friday night game. And on Saturday, 3 bumper games, really. The Chiefs are taking on the Rebels. You got a tip for this one, Cara? Chiefs on top of the table at the moment?
I reckon that since they've kept up with a clean record from the beginning of the season, they're definitely going to take this as well.
And can the Rebels win away from home, Sam?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know if they've got the games to probably play away from home at the moment. I just think they might be overpowered, but I think it's going to be, if they are going to have any chance, it's just how long they can control the game for and play on their terms, rather than some of those unforced errors that can creep away and being able to sustain that for 80 minutes.
Now the Blues are at home in Auckland. They're taking on the Crusaders. The Crusaders 1 from 3 at the moment. The Blues, they've had this one marked for some time. They really want to make a statement and they want to get that psychological edge over the Crusaders early on. So this is going to be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's that grudge match between the Blues and the Crusaders has gone back a very long time, and it's some good footy that gets played. I think the response that's going to happen from the Crusaders, to be honest, I'm going to hang my hat on it. I don't think they're going to lose this game. I just think Scotty Robinson, how they're going to prepare this week, they'll probably have the inclusions of their All Blacks back, and they're going to go up there and get the job done at Eden Park.
Yeah, just on that point, Australian Rugby and New Zealand Rugby are requesting, or in fact they're telling, that all of the franchises that they have to rest some of their internationals in a World Cup year. So Scott Robinson took the opportunity to rest players like Richie Mwanga last week. Even though he was in the stands, he probably would have been happy to throw a pair of boots at half-time maybe. But he said in the press conference, and we had a quick chat to him afterwards, didn't we, Sam? Scotty said a lot of teams are now going to look at that result in Lautoka last week and maybe not take the Drua lightly.
Well, that's it. You've sometimes you look at the whole season when you pre-plan it, like that game would have been earmarked ages ago and go, this is where we're probably going to have to rest some of our key players. We feel like we've got the depth to get the job done, still prepare as well. But yeah, you're not wrong. I think when you look at that game, you go, oh, if I had my time again, hindsight's a beautiful thing, that maybe I would have saved it for a little bit later in the rounds. But who's to say? And it has to be done. Like the World Cup's the pinnacle. You've got no choice to be able to do it. And that's going to be a good lesson for those Crusaders players that didn't get the result, in terms of you just can't, rock up and think you're just going to get the job done like that against a quality side at this level.
And Cara, you spoke about Moana Pacifica before, so it's a bit of a homecoming for Christian Lealiofano, because he was a legend in Canberra when he was playing for the Brumbies, and he's back there with the opposition, the enemy this week. So it's in Canberra, Brumbies taking on Moana, and well, it'll be interesting to see whether Moana can get the job done there and pull off a major upset.
I'm pretty sure that they will have all the supporters backing them in this match, although it's going to be a tough one, seeing that it's against the Brumbies. But let's just hope that Lealiofano's got something up his sleeve that will impress their fans.
Okay, the Highlanders on Sunday. The 2 matches on Sunday. They're at home and taking on the Western Force, Sam, your old team, who seem to have a little bit of a problem at the moment.
Yeah, well, the Highlanders, they haven't got off to a great start. They've had some pretty big losses. The Force, I think, with them coming off a bit of an up and down, so they've come off a pretty good win so far. They've had a big loss, so they responded well to that Reds game. Now they're travelling over there. The Force have actually had a pretty good history against the Highlanders. I'm pretty sure they've only lost to like maybe 4 or so times against them in their history. So they love playing at Forsyth Park there in Dunedin. it's going to be a close one. I think this is going to be, it'll be entertaining, and I think it'll be close.
Okay, and the last one is the one that we want to talk about in depth, I guess. The Reds are at home. They'll know what to expect now because the Drua are coming off that upset win in Lautoka. But the Drua now need to win back-to-back games, and that's a first that hasn't been ticked so far. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be hot in Brisbane. It won't have the humidity of Lautoka. So what do you make of this one?
I think it's going to be an interesting game, especially for the Drua. How do they cope emotionally throughout the week? How do you come off a win like that with the celebrations and bring yourself back down in preparation to be able to go, okay, we're going to Suncorp, which is a tough place to win footy. Suncorp has that aura about it. No matter how the Reds are going in the competition, whether they're winning at the top or they're not going so well, it is a tough place to win footy. And the Drua are going to have to prepare really well and know that they're going to play to their strengths, which is that sort of turnover footy, playing off the cuff, those quick taps. We saw Frank Lamani do that, off the penalties. So I think if they bring that style to it, because they're not going to worry about the conditions. They're already playing in tough conditions every single time. And then for the Reds, it's what lessons do they learn from the Crusaders, and what do they take out of probably that last 20 minutes when they played against the Waratahs when the score did blow out? How do they prepare and have a technical and tactical plan against the Drua?
And just following on from that, a lot of the coaches, and Scott Robinson said it before the game last week, that you cannot afford to play Fijian style, Drua style rugby, as in, get involved in playing that sort of up-tempo, fast-paced game. It's easier said than done, isn't it? Because if your opponent's doing that at you, you just want to have a crack, don't you?
Sometimes you just get sucked into that vortex of playing their style of footy. Like watching it in the commentary box, I know that the Crusaders play a lot of quick lineouts in general, and they get a lot of teams off the get on the front foot for doing that type of play. But you saw where their strengths were. It was around line-out time. Take them to play the kicking game. And that's what the Waratahs, I feel like they've done well every single time they've played against the Drua. They've turned them around, plugged them in the corners. And if they're going to play the high-risk footy, they're going to have to do it from their own end and try and go 100 metres to score. Yes, they might be able to do it once, but can they do it every single time? And then from there, you build that scoreboard pressure. You take points when they're on offer. You go to them more. You go to the scrum. And hopefully you bore them out of the game and force those turnovers, and you'll capitalise on it. So if I was, in the coaching box or planning, that's exactly how I'd have played it. I don't want to run into brick walls in the big shoulders of the Drua players. I want to take them to a structured game of footy so they get bored.
Yeah, and Cara, how difficult is it going to be for Mick Byrne and the coaching staff, Greg Fleming and Glenn Jackson, Brad Harris, to keep the Drua's feet on the ground? Because from what I know so far, it's been wall-to-wall coverage. Fiji Times, The Sun, right across your radio station, Fiji Gold, FBC. It's been quite amazing coverage since Lautoka.
Everyone's still talking about it. They're under pressure as well. As much as they won over a big team last week, they've got so much pressure on them, and I'm pretty sure that they'll take that into account when they go to Suncorp Stadium. 5 p.m. Fiji time. It's on a Sunday. A lot of Fijians are going to have to sacrifice their Sunday afternoon nap to stay up and watch this one. Fijians definitely will fill up Suncorp Stadium for sure after last weekend's win. They will definitely want another one this time around. Every Drua game means a lot, just not only for the coaching staff, but for the supporters as well, especially after seeing the team go up the ladder after round 3. Now, from what I see from the Reds, they are also preparing themselves well. Some takeaways from the match in the last season. They led comfortably until the Drua caught up, and it almost cost them the game, but they pulled through. And we've also got a couple of Fijian boys in the Red squad. So, yeah, Fijians against Fijians. Yeah,
Vunivalu, of course. Looking forward to Vunivalu and hopefully Dungunu getting a start as well. So that's round 4 in the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific. Sam, what do you make of the Six Nations? Simon Rawalui is heading north. He wants to have a look at the final round of what's happening in Six Nations in his preparation for the Flying Fijians at the Rugby World Cup. But, didn't France make a statement against England? What about that? 53 points to 10.
Yeah, they did. I think Eddie Jones is over there at the moment as well. So there's a few Southern Hemisphere coaches heading over there to have a look at that competition. You're right, England are going through a bit of a patch at the moment, and the French are just on fire. Not only in their men's team, but their under-20s team put a clinic on England as well. I think it was like 40-odd points. So the system that the French have got going at the moment, from their grassroots through their top 14 into their national team, is going really well. I love watching Scotland play at the moment. I think someone like Finn Russell plays a bit more like a Southern Hemisphere type player, but has the attributes of the kicking game of their normal style. I think they're playing a blend of footy that is exciting to watch. And then, of course, we have Ireland, who are stepping up, and hopefully it's not like every other World Cup cycle year with Ireland where they've peaked too early and they go in as, some favourites in the World Cup, but they bow out pretty early. So hopefully this is their year where they've peaked at the right time.
Yeah, Ireland, they've never made the last four, the semi-finals of a Rugby World Cup. They're on top of the Six Nations table on 19 points. France are on 15, so the title will be won by one of those teams. And in the last round, Ireland will play England, and France will play Wales, and Scotland will play Italy. Well, that wraps up another week of Clarkie's Corner podcast. Sam, we've been looking at your happy smiling face there, your well-groomed hair, and I can see you're in the office now. You've got cardboard boxes behind you. You've got T-shirts. Tell us about it.
Well, I do actually have a normal 9-to-5 job at the moment. So working here at Diamond Sports, sorting out kids and netball kit and rugby kit and folding, packaging it up, sending it off to the clubs. So it's going well when I'm not in the box with you on that Pacific Sports Show with ABC talking sport.
Okay, yeah, a man of many jobs, many talents. And Cara, on air this week, what's been the subject? Possibly talking a little bit of rugby, I'd imagine.
We're always talking about rugby. We did a little recap on the game last weekend, looking forward to the one that's coming up. So yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. Apart from that, just the usual. My 8-to-5 job is something similar to Sam. So yeah.
You're an early starter, 8 to 5. I'm 9 to 5.
Cara Karoi and Sam Wykes, thanks very much. We look forward to linking up again in Suva for the doubleheader. Fijiana taking on Rebels in Super W, and then it is the Swire Shipping Drua taking on the Melbourne Rebels, and that's in Suva on the 1st of April. And we'll be back this time next week. So thanks for joining us, and Sam and Cara, go well, and everybody else, Tosso Drua.
Tosso Drua. Love it. Looking forward to it.
Love it.